So Rafiq wants to print 3D print his balls for small children.
Right. For small children. Right.
That's how we're starting.
We haven't really come up with the practical use for this yet, but we are definitely confident that handing out 3D prints of his balls
is the way to go.
To the smallest of children.
The smallest. In the prenatal ward, they will be playing with my balls.
Right. Well,
I mean,
don't act like you haven't said that before.
I mean,
this is, so how about this? We started on child molestation today.
I know.
Naturally.
I'm Alan Dempsey.
And I am Rafiq Shaheen. And with us is our lovely, talented friend,
Shannon Kelly. That's me. Hi.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say my name.
No, we like to confuse people by not telling them in advance anything we're doing.
Anything.
Okay. I always prefer to let the guests say their name because I hate when you're listening to a podcast and somebody introduces somebody and there's like 4 or 5 people at the table. And because I always get confused because midway through the conversation, if I don't know who they are already, I'm like, wait, who is this guy? Like, he sounds like the other guy.
Yes.
Like, is this Bob or was this Dave? Like, who?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So having everyone go like, my name is Rafiq, then it's like, oh, that's Rafiq's voice.
What if every time I talk I just say Shannon here and then my hot take on whatever?
And then when you're done with your sentence, say over and out.
Yeah, okay, over and out. Just make walkie-talkie noises.
So, Rafiq, you wanted to talk about some of the nuts and bolts stuff of...
Yeah, so this is something I always find fascinating. And I thought having you on for this conversation would be really good because you did comics at the comic shop.
Yes.
You do a lot of shows like at IBM Rooster and like other bars in St. Petersburg and stuff like that. And one of the things is...
Well, let's talk about you too.
And I've done stuff at the improv and, like...
no big deal, just the improv.
And also, let's be clear, we're not just talking about performing. We're talking about putting shows together. Right. We book the comics and we...
Right, but, like, no one ever really... Like, I've never really heard a podcast talk about, like, the actual nuts and bolts of, like, how do you find a room? How do you market a thing? Like, because one of the things that drives me nuts is, like... Somebody goes like, I'm putting a show together. And you're like, great. And then you see a terrible comedy flyer with like 97 different fonts and like none of the information printed on there.
Right.
And then they're like, why didn't anyone show up?
Yeah.
I put this up yesterday.
Right.
I'm like absorbing all of this. Like, I feel like you guys brought me in on this podcast, like when people have these traumatic things, like, hey, remember that time you fell out of an airplane? Like, let's talk about it. And you're like, I'm still like having PTSD about the airplane. That is how I feel about all of the shows that I've been doing lately. And I'm like, Rafiq, you would want to talk about that. Let's just reopen the wounds. Just get in there and talk about how awful everything is.
Well, I mean, I just want you to chime in because like
I'm ready.
You did
I'm ready
I did right before I basically hung up my hat. I did 3 shows out of a comic shop called Comics at the Comic Shop. Put together, didn't perform, every time we say did, I feel like we're not being clear. But, so that was a whole unique experience in and of itself because I'm not playing at places that are like venues. It's a comic shop.
Whole different ballgame.
So I had to like talk. I mean, I was good friends with the owner. That's where I got the idea. I was like, well, I fucking know that guy. He would be, So we had to discuss, well, what are we going to do? We're going to have to move these racks out of this section. They actually built, for me, for that show, built a little 2-inch stage.
Aww.
We had to figure out, well, who's got the mic? Who's got the PA system? Who's, where are the people going to sit? Where do the comics store away? They just happen to have like a little room in the back near the bathrooms. Okay, well, the comics can hang out back there, and you just kind of had to. And then it was frustrating too because, like, for them, because they're doing their daily job, and I'm still calling them going, hey, do you have those images for the flyer? Do you have, and then calling them for revisions. Hey, you misspelled this thing on the flyer, and, you should probably put the date in a bigger font, whatever. And so they were just starting to hate me, justifiably.
I find that weird because, like, I didn't know that you had them make it up. Because I thought you were doing that while you were working at your job, which shall not be named.
That was no. I think I was done being a teacher at the time. Is that what you're talking about?
No,
this was before I got my current job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because he works at an entertainment company
Mm-hmm.
that does a lot of marketing and a lot of promotion and stuff like that now.
One of the shows, maybe the last one I did, was when I was working there, and I actually hired one of the production artists to make a flyer.
Okay.
And it looked great because he was a production artist, and I gave him, I don't know, $60 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to that, I was either making it on Word because I don't know how to use like Photoshop,
Mm-hmm.
or the guy who did the marketing for the comic shop who made their flyers was making them, but there was all these revisions going back and forth, and I was pissing everybody off.
So that's the thing that goes into it is people don't realize like that they show up and there's a show and my favorite part's when they show up and bitch about how things are going at the show, and it's like unless you've put one on, you don't realize like if you're doing it at a DIY venue like that, there isn't a stage, there isn't a sound guy and lights and a
it's
PA.
like you are all those things yourself.
You really are, and that was what we ran into last night, and so that, and then the flyer design, that's like one thing I like harp on all the time because I work for a digital marketing agency and I'm looking at graphic design all day, and like my theory is if it looks bad, like no one's gonna want to come. Like I'm not taking it seriously if you don't take this seriously. Like, and so while we're on the subject, Canva is a great tool that I like scream at the top of my lungs on mountains for. It's canva.com, and it's like Photoshop for dummies. You just drag and drop. There's all these templates. It's just already kind of pretty for you.
So this podcast sponsored by
Canva. These bitches should be paying me. I know. I post about you. You've probably seen me ranting or raving online all the time. It's just like, just stop with the like. What are we doing this in MS Paint? Like.
So I kind of hit the medium point between the two of you because whenever I do a show, because the big companies like the comedy clubs don't want to. They don't want to spend money on your show.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of just the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they ain't gonna do it.
That's weird.
But
they don't. I guess they don't want people to come that night.
They want you to bring people that night, but they don't want to pay you to bring people that night.
All right. That's so weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, so just numbers wise, when I did my last big show at a comedy venue, they paid me $350 for the entire show.
Okay.
And it's like, this is how much for a headliner, a feature, marketing materials, my pay.
Oh, they didn't pay Rafiq $350.
No.
The budget for the show
was $350.
Holy cow.
Right. And they were still expecting, it was a smaller venue, but they were expecting about $180 to show up. And it's like, even if I spend the entire $350 on marketing, right, the chances of me bringing in 180 people are still very much in flux.
Right, you can't.
Right,
anything like that.
But at the same point in time, it's like, if you want a quality headliner going, hey man, you want to do this show for $100 is like a little insulting.
I can say with I would imagine you had a similar experience, Shannon, that I got really lucky because I was well known and at the time well liked. So a lot of comics were willing to do this for me. Even when I was basically offering them chicken scratch, just...
Absolutely is the case. I mean, even last night I tried to pay, I had a very similar situation where it's like, here's this budget, and you have to do everything within this budget, and it's different depending on how they set it up. Do you get a slice of their ticket sales? Last night we did a dinner and a show, so, the restaurant had to take their portion for the dinner side of things. If I'm running the door myself, I do like that style better because you have more freedom, and... I tell the comics, hey, bring as many people as you can because it's a door split, so I can pay you way more. But exactly, it's like I've had headliners who, make a lot more, but they show up on a random Tuesday night for me. Again, that's a different story. They're coming on a Tuesday. I'm not asking for their Friday or Saturday night. Like
I got JB Ball, when he was on the rise,
Mm-hmm.
did me a fucking solid and headlined for me for like $60.
Well, I don't want to put people's prices out there, but yeah.
Well, this was like 3
Years ago.
I'm not giving anybody's laundry out. But at the time, he very directly told me, like, he wasn't a dick about it, but it was honest. It was like, hey, I'm pretty in demand, and if one of the other clubs is asking for me that weekend, I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can't argue with that.
So, like, the venue I did, like, the last real show I did was, like, down, like, in Miami, and again, not naming names or anything like that, but, like, it's like a smaller club. It's not part of a chain or whatever. It's just kind of like a entertainment venue.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's kind of like, it's like when you build like a celestial box. You're just like, hey, whatever, we're gonna worship something in this building. Whatever shows up, shows up, right? This could be like a mosque. This could be like a Jewish temple. It could be for Christians. Who knows? All I know is we got paid to build the thing, right?
So you told dick jokes in that celestial building.
Yeah, okay, essentially. But it, I went there, had a conversation with the owner because I found him off of like the Gigger. And, it was like, hey, I can do this. And, there was a conversation about pay. But it's like, I had to ask very nicely for somebody who quit comedy. Which I go, oh, maybe I'm the cause. Not directly, but it is one of those, like, I hate the take in the back of my head is like, this was the final show they did where they're like, man, I ain't getting paid shit for this.
Wow.
But they very kindly, like you, did it for, very cheap.
Mm.
It was like, you are a person who deserves, like, even on an off night, like, $250.
Right.
And you're doing this for, like, $100.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, it always boggles my mind because nobody ever talks about this.
Well, here's another thing. I guess we should talk. I mean, I guess you guys already did with budget and everything, but since I was doing it out of a comic shop, literally, we just kind of looked at each other and said, well, how do we just distribute this money? And we were like, all right, well, let's say it's $10 a ticket and we split it 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
So, the comic shop basically only wins in that situation. The only thing they're paying for is keeping the lights on for another few hours, right? But for me, I mean, I did basically everything out of pocket completely. Right. I went into a hole. I almost broke even on the second one, and definitely did not break even on the first and the third one I did,
And that's what's interesting about the different venues. It's like, again, if they're coming to a bar and restaurant, obviously you're hoping that the bar and restaurant's going to make money on drink and food sales that you're usually not touching unless you get some sort of percentage deal worked in. And I've run into huge issues with that. With one venue, it's like the percentage, I used to just get a flat 10% of the bar no matter what. I just recently got told I need to make like a certain number and then I get my percentage, which I can kind of understand, but the flip-flop and the way things used to be and the way they are now, and all of a sudden it's this huge jump, there was no gradual anything, and like, honestly, the bar's just been shitty at service and sales. They run out of product all the time. I'm a performer. I'm here to, and I'm also booking and promoting. So I fill your room. I'm entertaining the people in the room. I need you to do your part by selling the shit so that we can, all make money here. And so that's kind of what's frustrating is when you're doing this and it's so DIY. This was last night, it's like I'm the comic. I'm setting up the PA. I'm doing the lights. I'm now writing your menu to show you what specials we should be doing. So that it's like, that's just beyond my scope for what we're getting paid at this point, And so I think, when you choose to book and do shows, you've got to ask yourself, is it worth it, or do I just want to show up and tell jokes,
Right. Well, like, you see this at the casino all the time, where you have these moments where it's like, hey, man, I know theoretically how much money we make. You guys are keeping things running, which is great, but how do you have no clue how to put an entertainment venue together? Like, all you gotta do is hire a dude to perform and then just do everything else you do normally. Mm-hmm. But every time they put someone up there, because they've only had like a couple shows so far, there's always this huge thing of like, I don't know, but how much is reasonable? Is $5 reasonable?
And I get it. The return on investment, it's like, it doesn't make sense to go spend all this money on entertainment that you're not going to make back.
Right.
But it's also entertainment, and doing events is promo for your club. So when it shows that cool people and cool things are happening, that makes people want to go there on other nights of the week when maybe that big performer's not there, but you set this tone that it's a cool space, right? And I feel like a lot of venues just miss the mark on that. They don't market themselves. They do the entertainment, but like you said, don't want to like help push or do anything. You're doing it all single-handedly, and it's like, okay, we're missing the boat on this one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone wants everything for free.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, hey man, can you bring in 500 people a night, and I will pay you no money, and you will just
it's fun for you. You have nothing else to do.
Like,
I literally have this conversation with the management where he's like, you just run your little shows, you do your thing, it's kind of the Shannon show down there. I'm like, excuse me? And I was trying to like let it happen and let him, mansplain to me, and I let him speak, and I said, I'd like to flip that narrative. Like, I do all your graphic design. You're not paying someone else to do this. I'm doing all the promotions. I'm using my personal comedy pages to bring people to your restaurant. I'm doing all of these things. I hired the door person. I pay them, yada, yada. I pay all the performers out of pocket. And I say out of pocket, obviously what I make from them, then I did redistribute. And I'm like, you guys can't even get a bartender to show up. Like, it's not the Shannon show downstairs. What? Like,
wow.
Yeah. Did I mention PTSD at the beginning of
this?
Yeah.
That's really what we're about.
Right. Just triggering.
We just want to bother and annoy everyone.
No, it sucks. It's like, this is a business for us too. If we've chosen to produce shows or do things, it's like, because we would like some money at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's the thing about comics as a whole, is like, we all love the performance thing, but so many of us are so bad at the business thing.
Yes.
I can't tell you the number of shows I've agreed to be on, and then realized not until I got to the show, I was like, I didn't ask anyone if I was getting paid. Like, I probably should have asked that. Like,
it might be changing the topic, but this is why people hire managers. And it's like, well, if you're just becoming a feature Tampa comic,
you don't need a manager.
No good. It doesn't do you any good to hire a manager. So you have to use your shitty no skills as a comedian skills, to try to
absolutely
move yourself forward in any way.
I think what helps in the business side is that we see the business side. So when we are performing, either there's more sympathy on our end where we're like, yo, I've been in your shoes, I get it. If the door doesn't make much or whatever, it's like, I'm a little more understanding because I know how those things go. But also now I know, to ask, what are the details? Is that, what time, where are we at, blah, 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 what's expected of me, how much time, and is there pay? At least I know what to expect going into it, because it sucks. You show up to a venue, there's a 2-item minimum, you're getting charged as a it's like, and it costs you money to go to the show. You're like,
I always love that. I always love when you perform someplace and they're like, oh man, we love having you here. By the way, that burger is going to be like $12.
Oh, for sure.
I like it when they force you. You have to bring X amount of people. Like, they give you all these weird restrictions for the open mic night. You have to bring 4 people with you.
I need you to bring.
And I think I might be making this up. It's been a while, but like, you also, each of those people has to order at least 1 drink or something like that. Like, what the fuck am I doing here?
I need you to bring 4 people who are 6 foot tall, named Sven, blonde hair, blue eyes. You'll get to do 3 minutes clean.
I'm in New York City, and as just on vacation, and one of the nights we're going to go to, it's called New York Comedy Club, and I'm going to do open mic there. So we call in advance, and it was, I had to bring 4 people. It was all the shit that you normally, all right, fine. Well, I've got my 3 people here with me.
You're bringing homeless people in off the streets. You're like, I need people.
Well, it's like I've got my vacation crew here. Yeah. This is the 4.
Right.
We're good. We get there, and we are coming in on the tail end of a bunch of comedians doing a workshop. They're performing for one another. They're giving each other critique. And it's like, over time, open mic should have started 30 minutes ago. Nobody really knows what's going on. The woman who was like running the workshop just was already standing in front of the mic and goes, okay, I guess we're going to start the open mic show now. And then we sat and watched every one of those comedians do exactly the same material. Nobody came in. A bunch of other comedians, because New York comics just hit all the clubs in one night. So a bunch of other comics who didn't bring 4 people were showing up, and I kept getting bumped. And I'm the one who brought 4 people.
But you're in New York. It's fancy.
And I think by the time I got up there, it was still just me and my friends and a few of the comics left over. And the first thing I said was, when I woke up this morning, I thought, wow, I'm going to perform in a real New York comedy club.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
But don't worry, we'll pay you an exposure.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. It's weird because there's so much of the business aspect of what we do that like everyone goes, you can't talk about it. That like not in an open forum because what if somebody hears you and it gets back to this club or this person or what? And it's just like, we all talk about it privately anyway. Like we're gonna have this conversation, and then when I go to an open mic later this week, someone's gonna be like, "What'd you do this week?" And I'm gonna repeat the exact same comment.
Right.
I think it's healthy to talk about it because it sets a standard for what we should be expecting. Like I try to pay almost every single person. I mean, I do. I pay everybody that comes through the shows, like at my venue right now. I'm trying not to say it. And so, and it might not be much. It's like if the door sucked, but I've definitely eaten like shit on some nights and just paid out of pocket because I just want to give something for gas money, something. I've worked a deal with the bar where at least they get half off drinks. I try to get something where there's some sort of incentive. And then, I don't know, it's like I feel like if we set a standard where it's like, okay, yeah, the comics are expecting to get paid on shows, then that's a thing that happens. Now, if you're getting a guest spot at a club like you're doing, it's like that's different. It's a chance to truly like, be on a club stage. But like for 5 minutes, they're going to be at the open mic at that club anyway. It's like so.
Well, it's a little bit like you're saying. It's a little different when you're performing at an actual club because unlike almost every other time you perform comedy, this is a group of people who are like, yeah, I want to listen to comedy.
Yeah, they're ready for comedy. Exactly. They're not at a bar show like dealing with drunk hecklers and shit.
You're not popping up behind some dude in the bathroom being like, all right, here's my tight five.
Exactly. Hey, check me out. Exactly.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Standing on a chair so people can hear and see you. Yeah.
What's the deal with big dicks and peeing? Am I right?
That happens a lot in my bathroom too. She gets wild in there.
Sweet.
So, but I hit up a comic recently who had the same headliner that I did, and I was just like, "Hey, would you pay?" Because I just want to make sure that like his wasn't way too high or way too. It's like I wanted to keep it comparable to what I so that we are taking care of the dude and like obviously keep a good name for the Tampa scene and stuff. Like,
right.
I'm with you. I think those are we should definitely be talking about that kind of stuff. I mean, the number of times that I went to kind of big, I don't know if I should say big, but those shows at a bar where every single comic gets the same amount of time. So there's not like a feature and a headliner, and I didn't get paid. But then other times I did shows like that and without anyone telling me, somebody just came around the corner and put $50 in my hand. Like, oh, I did this for $50. Now I'm going to buy more drinks.
Exactly.
Like I just, so I think it's definitely healthy to, have the conversation of this is what we kind of expect to be paid. And,
And I think it's open-ended because you talked about the good old boy system where it's like sometimes buddies will do shows, they're going to do it regardless and they're happy that you're paying. It's like it's because they understand the struggle and like you running around and or if no one's in the room, obviously no one's in the room. And so I think unless they say, like you said, JB in the past, like I usually make X, it's like unless they give you a rate, it's not like you're screwing them, but you obviously want to try to take care of them. But there was no expectation being set. If they didn't ask and if they didn't tell you what they need to be paid, it's kind of on you to just, use your best judgment and make sure they feel compensated. But
it's that thing about art, right? Like every artist goes, the thing I do is invaluable. And then somebody goes, I'll take it for $40. And you're like, yes, you will.
Or you've got the other, dummy that's just like, I'm so excited to do this, I'll do it for free. And like, that's been a struggle with the venue I'm at as well, is like, of course, newcomers have come on and they will work for free. And I'm sitting here, scrapping with the club to try to make my money. I say club, but venue. And, it's frustrating because it's like then your stuff's getting devalued because somebody else is going to do it for free. So you're like, I can't win.
Yeah, so, I get what you're talking about. It's like I said earlier, for me, there's always that moment where somebody will go, hey, do you want to do a show? And I go, yes, of course, I'd love to. And then it's not until I get there that night where I'm like, I should have been asking you how much I was getting paid. Like, I drove an hour down here to Fort Myers.
I think it was Jim Jeffries. I might be fucking everything I'm about to say up.
Oh,
Okay.
please, do
But,
tell us.
But I'm a comedian, so I'll keep talking. I believe it was him, and he was talking about the British system versus the U.S. system, and championing the British system. He said when you do a comedy show in Britain, everyone gets the same amount of time, and everyone gets the same amount of money. And he said, but when you go to the States, your feature gets $150, and then your headliner makes a fortune. And it's just I can't remember what his final argument was, but basically his point was like doing it the other way it's better for the comics. It's better for, letting people kind of work their shit out instead of being stuck doing, well, you get to do 5 and you get to do 17 and, or whatever. Like everybody, you know what you're going for, you know what you're getting. Everyone has the same expectation.
It's socialist comedy.
It's very socialist comedy, yeah.
I can see both sides. I think that there's, especially for those of us who've been in the scene for years and have been struggling just to get those dates and work our butts off and do those 5-minute guest spots until you start getting more and more time. It's like, that's just kind of part of it, right? So it's like, what do you work towards if, you're all just given the same thing? It's like, I think you get better and better. I think that there should be a healthy dose of kind of competition and like shit talking and just like, I'm going to bury you. So you better like do your best because I'm going to fucking smash you when I go up on my set. Like, I think that keeps us all on our toes. And
I remember there was a comic, he moved to New York, but there was a comic on the scene who I would go up, I would do time, he would go up, he would do time, and then, and I say this because I still love the dude, but he would get off stage and we'd just be talking comedy in the back, and he would just shit talk me out of like nowhere, and then he'd always end it with like, but iron sharpens iron, right? And I'm just like, no, like you're just being a dick. Like,
my feelings are hurt, sir.
Right? Well, because it's that thing of like I would go up and like you eat a dick, like it just happens, like and he would just be like, yeah, you really fucked that up, dude. You're like, I know, I was there, like.
Oh, I think I would laugh my ass off if somebody said that.
That's the thing. I've heard that from so many, like, and I guess I have to think about the sexes and stuff because like the women in the scene are super supportive of each other and we're like, go get it, go girl, like kill it, but like I get shit talked to my face by guys all the time. They will say like, oh yeah, you stuck a bag of dicks up there, thank you so much, thank you, because I was also up there and heard myself and the laugh of laughter, so I'll just okay.
See, that's what I'm saying though, because it's like, hey man, guess what, I remember that vividly. That happened.
I was there.
That happened literally 5 minutes ago. Like,
I never participated. Like I get the what was it? Was it the cellar where they had that one table where Patrice and all those guys would sit, and if you came anywhere near that table, they would just destroy you?
Yeah.
I get that thing. I never participated in that thing. I don't have. First of all, I don't know where that line is between I'm jabbing you or I'm really hurting your fucking feelings. And also, like, when it's coming at me, even when it's funny, after a while, it's not funny anymore, man. It's like, okay, you're really starting to press me down now.
And there's a difference between who it is. It's one thing when it comes from, like, your circle and your crew of people. And it's like, John Jacobs, was my co-host at Iberian, and, like, it was always like, hey, you go up there and like go kill yourself jokes and like daddy issues, and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna talk about your dead mom. It would just like be such assholes. But that's the homie. Like I love that dude, and and when I have a good set, he's the first to tell me I had a good set too. So it's like we would playfully be dicks to each other. Now if just some idiot came up and said those same things to me, I would have punched him in the face.
Yeah. So it's like, well, it's like you're. Which is the thing with him? It was always that thing of like, I don't mind you saying this.
Well, his is always really
thrown down.
With my experience, his jabs are always so silly that it's like, if I got offended, if I took this seriously, I'm a jackass because that's the stupidest thing anyone's ever said to me. That was with him at least.
No, but so the guy who moved to New York, it was one of those things of like, again. There was part of me that was like, yeah, iron does sharpen iron, but like, constructive criticism would be much more appreciated than like, man, you just should go home and fucking kill yourself. Shit, like, that set was terrible. And it's like, thank you. I'm also aware of that.
No, I agree with that, and I think that, like, I don't know, it's like we need each other to all do better. We can't, it's not a solo man show, right? So it's like, if I can help you with a tag or make sure that you're fucking good, it makes the whole scene look good. It's like the Tampa's the destination for comedy because it's a good place to tell jokes, and I don't know, I think constructive criticism could be way more helpful.
Yeah.
I definitely...
like, your peers can talk shit about you, but, like... That's actually my favorite Kevin Hart story, is the table you're talking about, with, like, Colin put in all of them. Because, so, according to the legend, right, Kevin Hart, when he's, like, first starting to come around, he's trying to sit at the table, and they're just like, no, fuck you.
Right? You can't sit with us.
No.
Right, yeah. And so, apparently, like, Kevin goes, and, like, he does this for, like, a hot minute, and then finally he just stops. And this is around the time he starts getting to movies. Mm-hmm. Right? And so apparently, like, one night he just shows up at the table and throws down $100,000. He's like, you can keep your fucking seat. And, like, I'm like,
snap.
I'm like, that is applause worthy. Like,
I don't know if that's true, because I always heard that he was at that table. It was like him, Patrice, Keith Robinson, Animals,
yes.
Boss. I mean, just Norton.
I can't even imagine.
Can you imagine the black swirling toxicity coming off of that table?
I was gonna say, Kevin Hart's so likable too. Like, he doesn't seem threatening. Like, I couldn't see people being dicks to him. You'd be like, come on, little buddy. Like, come on, sit over here. Like, you know, I don't know.
I always liked one of the things I always liked about Patrice was, like, even though he was royally toxic, right? There was this very chagrin acknowledgement of it. Like, I remember, I think it was Opie and Anthony, he goes on and he's talking about, like, yeah, this is the reason why I don't get booked for movies, because people hate me. Like, because people don't know me, and then I introduce myself, and people are like, oh, you're that asshole.
Your reputation precedes you, sir. Oh, man. So... We kind of, like, tailspun there, but, like...
it doesn't matter.
I like it. But, if we're trying to put together a toolkit, right, like, of booking shows, or maybe why it's the worst idea ever to book shows, and why you should just try to get on them. I started booking shows because I wanted to create a space for me to get on stage. And, you know, it's like when you're new, you know, you're fighting for those 5-minute spots, you're driving all over town. Like, I had a day job. I've always hustled. I've always had, like, a million jobs and doing a million things and juggling stuff, like... you know, starting a mic at this venue and then, like, doing showcases and stuff, that was my opportunity to...
That's exactly what led me, the feud that I did, was me going, I'm not getting invited to the table.
Right.
You know, and going, all right, I guess I got to go build my own table.
Right.
You know.
So for me, it's sort of on that path, but for me, the big difference was, like, I look at the Tampa Bay scene and I go, there are some absolute sharks in the water here. Mm-hmm. And it is almost criminal that they are not getting, you know what I mean? Like, you're not getting the time.
Yeah.
You know, and so, like, the few times the improv was like, hey, do you want to put together a show? I was like, gladly. Because even if I'm, you know, like, I'd love to just do time myself, but it's like...
But you know some savages that you want to
get
up
and I go,
stage.
like, I know I'm not at a headliner spot yet, but guess what? If I can host or feature and bring an absolute monster out of the woods to show the people...
If I can put one of those little nets around Bigfoot's head...
right, like...
Lure him on stage with bananas...
Right, I hands down want to do that. I want people to not only go, like, the Tampa scene is great, but I want people to, like, on a Tuesday night be coming around and being like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Yeah. Like, did you see him talk about suicide for 20 minutes? Yeah. That changed my faith in God. Yeah. Like,
Rafiq put me on my first show at Improv, and it like, helped, like, because I don't know, I think people just saw me as, like, an open mic host or whatever, and it's like, it's hard until you get those opportunities. Do you get those opportunities? You know, it's like when people start seeing you getting put on posters, and okay, you're sharing stuff, and oh, she's show worthy now. She's kind of busted out of just her 5-minute thing on open mics, and that's where I'm also kind of stagnant. Where, like, I am looking to do more feature work, longer sets, whatever, and I'm in this weird part where I'm like, I started, 6.5 years ago or something. I started a little mic at a craft beer bar, and then I kind of went dark for a little bit, and then I came back. I was always like kind of dabbled in stuff, but I wasn't hitting it hard, like.
Welcome to the comic story.
Yeah, right.
So
every comic has that story where it's like, so how long did you pause?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and we all, whatever, go through our phases, but I think everyone's kind of got that dramatic story. Like for mine, it was a breakup. Like I got out of a 4-year relationship, and I just poured myself into comedy.
Yeah.
And comedy served for so many different things for me. It's like, yeah, it's been a business at one point. It's literally been the reason I didn't kill myself. It's just been the thing that keeps you busy, keeps you going. And now I'm looking at it differently, where I'm like, no, I'm looking for different things out of comedy. Like I would like to get into more writing behind the scenes with like sketch and like pilot stuff, and I would like to work on longer sets, and like I want to, God forbid, do a clean set. I tried last night, it was not great, but to truly just like work like different muscles in the comedy sphere, right? And so where was I going with this crazy rant? Something.
But that's fine. This whole podcast has, just like every episode, has always been a crazy rant from somebody.
I was wondering, in your clean set, did you ever say, "What's the deal with toothpaste"?
That's good. We should do that.
Yeah.
What's the deal with
it's a very hot take. It's very original.
Super hot take. Ben, our headliner from last night, Ben Brainerd from Orlando, he's like, I challenge you to do a clean set with no, like, not dark stuff, and like try to lay off religion by December 1st. And I'm like, you literally just took away all of my like, what am I gonna talk about then?
Took my identity.
Tupperware, and you almost feel like a sellout. You feel like cheesy. It's not your voice,
right? Like, yeah, that's the thing that I got reminded of last night. Is just like, I don't have to swear, because I did the set last night relatively clean. Right. I didn't use the word fuck. I made some allusions to hooking up, but there wasn't any like,
fuck this bitch,
right? But it's like, that's not how I talk to people. That's not how I talk in normal conversation.
Right.
Why am I? Is that the Lewis Black thing of like, say fuck, say fuck, say fuck right now, fuck me, fuck, like.
And I understand there's a different time and a place. Like today, I suited up and I was like doing interviews on camera at a nail salon in Orlando. Like that was like my paid gig of the day. And it's okay because I feel like I'm playing a character at that point. I'm like, here I am, Miss Interview Girl, like whatever. At work, I'm being a copywriter and I'm speaking in my clients' voices. I'm speaking as this venue or this doctor or whatever, because I'm writing their social media. So when I'm on stage as Shannon Kelly, like I want to be Shannon Kelly, I want to talk about the things that I care about. Like
I'm a little curious about something you just said. You said your paid gig of the day. Like, do you try to do like a paid gig every day? Or
no,
is that,
I wish
like...
that would be awesome. But I'm always hustling and doing side gigs. Like I've got a freelance client on top of like I've got the day job where I do marketing copy, and then this lady, it's a family friend, I've worked with her for years, and she does like on-air food demonstration, like on the home shopping networks and stuff, and so I help her with like recipes, I help do her website, and like this is a very, very clean, upbeat, cheesy, like I sound like Martha Stewart when I'm talking, like, home for the holidays and the house smells of blah blah blah. That's not something I would typically say, but when I'm writing as a client, I can slip into that voice, I can pretend I'm that person. So I think when I do that all day long, and like, or even the interview thing, yes, I'm on camera introducing myself, but I understood my purpose is to interview people about their services in a nail spa,
I never once felt, kind of close to what you're saying, I've heard people talk about how much they hate hosting. I've never felt once in any way nervous about hosting. Because my job as a host really isn't to be funny.
Right.
My job as the host is to move the show. And I can do that. And there's no lack of confidence in my ability. I have literally hosted before, said to the crowd, well, you guys don't think I'm funny, but you'll love this next guy, because it's fine. It's fine. I don't care if I bomb.
My frustration with hosting, I've curated a room where I can kind of get away with darker, weird stuff. Like, they know what they're getting into when they come to a late night show at this venue. But at other venues, for one, host pay sucks. Like, let's just be real. You're doing a whole lot for no money, and so depending on the different clubs you go to.
You want to do this for free?
Right. So if you're hosting and the end, like, so what's the end goal? If the end goal is to be a feature or to, get those longer sets, like for touring comics and stuff, and you kind of just slip into this host spot and you're not funny, and they just see you as the guy that, is selling drinks or explaining to keep your table talk to a minimum, well now you're never going to view me as like that that feature comic that I want to be, right? But there's some people who kill it when they're hosting. Like John Jacobs will open with 20 minutes and slay, and then keeps the show rolling too. So I think it depends on the club and where you're at and what you can do with it. I'm not good at being the cheerleader, bubbly,
So I can do. So you were talking about the voice, speaking of the voice from your client or whatever. Like, I have always been semi-similar, no matter what the job is, because I do this when I work security too. It's always like, this is the facade of a security guard.
You've got to be more stern. Yeah.
Right, like, this is not a conversation. Like, we have fun here with, like, a straight face.
I am having a blast.
Right, and it's like, now, sir, I need you to put your pants on. Like,
no, I get that.
But
vacate the premises, thanks.
You're right, but like when it comes to hosting, it's that thing of I have no problem clicking into like I'm the cheerleader, like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. We're all gonna have fun. I don't want to kill myself. We're not gonna talk about that. Like,
we're not gonna talk about that.
Well, I mean, when I was a teacher, I had 1 year we gave out the the little 6th grade awards, and each.
I get to hear it in your voice. You were so happy to do that, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, and so each teacher gave out their awards, and I was told later, like, you were really funny when you did that, and I was just.
And that's maybe like my own personal growth and development where I need to blend both worlds. Like, I just spoke for the day job. I did this thing. It was a conference on marketing, and I did like a presentation on marketing. And again, these like weird side gigs that have nothing to do with comedy pay way more than comedy ever does. But what's up?
Well, no, I was gonna say those are all, like what you're talking about. Those are valuable skills. That's kind of actually what we were talking about earlier. Of like a lot of it's like a lot of comics don't have any of those marketing skills. A lot of comics just come into it being like, well, I can write a joke.
Right.
So write me a check for
money.
Right. And they barely can talk to people off stage. It's like you have to be personable and business savvy in that way. But yeah, I did this presentation and I worked in some, I just voice fluctuation and kind of making little off jokes, but it was all clean because I'm at a business thing. It's like, so I feel like that also is Shannon Kelly. So when I'm like, saying earlier back to what I was like, when I'm on stage, I want to be myself. It's like, I need, I think, to exercise and blend where I can be more professional, more upbeat, do the hosting thing, whatever it may be, and stay true to like what I want to talk about.
Alan actually,
I have some belief on that. I think that what were you gonna say?
Well, I was actually gonna say you just gave me some advice that's been really working for me lately as far as being myself on stage. Was we were talking about this the other time? Was just I've been approaching it lately as though this is the last time I'm ever going to get on stage.
How sad, but helpful.
Well, because it's kind of freeing in a way, because it's like, if this was your last time, like no more open mics, no more shows, nothing else. Yeah. Who would you be? What would your legacy be?
Wow, I didn't even know you told me a little bit about this. Right. I don't remember you saying all that.
But it's kind of liberating, because it's that whole thing of
crazy liberating.
Right, because you go up there and it's like at the show last night, I did the jokes. I did my usual joke about nicknames for my dick, right? Like, obviously you can't say dick because you want it clean. It was like,
I say clean-ish for the record. It was a dinner show.
For my genitals.
Yeah, I was like, let's just refrain from jizz jokes.
But like there was a moment where I felt the audience pulling away, because the first two, like, it's a dark joke. Like, the whole joke is just dark humor, because that's what I find funny. I find pantomiming suicide funny. Like, there's not, like, I'm sorry, that's who I am. But, like, I felt the audience pulling away, and for some reason in my brain, when there was a portion of me that wanted to be like, you should retreat from this, but then there was another portion that was just...
you leaned in, didn't you?
There was another portion that just came out that was just like, hey, that was dark. Better brace yourselves.
I do that almost every show, so what were you going to say? So you said you had it.
Well, in terms of being yourself, I think there's a number of ways to and that's kind of what you were already saying. I think there's a number of ways to do that. Around the time I quit, and I'm really thinking about going back, as we've discussed, around the time I quit, my jokes started to become less. My jokes for years were just about my depression and therapy and breakups and just miserable, and my belief about death and just dark. I started getting more Brian Regan-ish at the end. I literally did a joke about toothpaste, and for me, the joke about there was a Crest 3D. And the joke was, well, that's great for me because, like many of you, I suffer from fourth dimensional teeth. And I talked about how my teeth are blinking in and out of existence. And okay, so what part of that is me? What part of that is me is that I literally was in a grocery store and I saw a toothpaste called Crest 3D, and I thought it was so stupid that it pissed me off. And that's why I wrote a joke about having fourth dimensional teeth.
Right.
Now, I'm certain that no one in the audience felt the anger at the bottom of that joke, but that's where that joke came from. It came from me being pissed at how stupid the marketing was on calling a toothpaste 3D.
Yeah.
And that for me, like, I never approach things in terms of just, this will be funny to say. It's me going like, where am I right now?
This is how I feel.
What am I looking at? And what am I observing? And what, right?
I don't mind pausing for a moment. Just gonna ask them to keep it down.
What are you doing?
I'm just gonna ask them to keep it down a little bit. Since
I don't think it's gonna be that bad.
You don't think it's gonna bleed in?
It probably will, but the last one I edited, there was a bunch of bleed in on the Jeff Ray episode.
Okay, I mean,
That's great.
yeah, I mean, like that was just one of those, like, all right, well,
Look, you live here.
if you guys,
the idea of you asking them to be quiet makes me want to hide under this table and suck my thumb. So,
Get off my lawn!
This is why I'm trying to buy a house.
Aww.
None of these kids yelling outside.
Oh, I don't think I paused any of that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, well, good. Just keep on going.
Because why would I expect the pause button to pause anything?
Well,
as opposed to the stop button.
Right. So
That's
now
fantastic.
anyone who's ever been curious, they can know what goes on behind the scenes of this half-assed podcast.
Okay, it's 46 minutes in. It is time for a recurring segment that we like to call, Hey Rafiq, what's making you miserable this week?
So
as he says with a smiling grin.
I do this because I know Alan's gonna say the same thing he does every time.
It takes him no amount of time
exactly.
to access what's making him miserable, and it makes me very happy.
So I was at work the other day, right, and they were doing an employee concert, right, and they're like, oh, for $20, which we'll give you back when you come to our concert, right? Doing this is Employee Appreciation Month, right? You can do this, and you can enter a raffle for like a free TV or an iPad, blah, 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 blah. And I go, hey, you know what you could do? You could just fucking give me that money. Like, you could just fucking pay me more money, and then you don't have to hold an employee concert, right? Because I hate, and I've seen this done so many times.
Something that was done with such good intention.
It's not. No, that's the thing. It's never done with actual good intentions. It is very clear the reason why they threw this concert is because they want to sound test the room.
Oh.
Right? And it's like, oh, well, you guys are going to have to come through security like normal. And it's like, oh, you mean the security we're practicing setting up right now?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you mean we can go up to the pool bar for the employee pool party where you guys just opened up that restaurant so you can test to make sure all the food and everything works up there? You know
I'm trying really, I don't know what you mean. I'm trying really hard to empathize, but all I'm hearing is you got made to go to a pool party and a concert. Life's hard. I had to have fun.
Shannon, you can come back anytime.
Thank you. As someone who tries to improve the work morale, like, my job's super hippie. We did yoga on Friday. It's like, yeah.
But, like, that's the thing. I go, you doing yoga makes sense because it's like, this is a physical activity. It's team building, yada, yada, yada. But, like, this is very clearly a thing where it's like, we don't want to give you money. Like, we don't want to raise people, because everyone there complains about how low we get paid. And it's like, they constantly do this, where it's like, oh, hey, when are we getting raises? Oh, we'll figure it out. But by the way, did you know you can enter a raffle for a free TV? And it's like, why don't you take that TV, sell it, and then give me that amount of money, and then I will be happy.
But do you think that the money that TV costs, and they probably got it on some promo thing, or maybe even got it donated to them by a liquor company or something, you know what I mean? Maybe they didn't even pay for the TV. Like, divided by however gajillion employees they have there. Here's your 3 cents for the, you know what I mean?
But it's the same thing with, like, the employee cafeteria there, right? Mm-hmm. They go, oh, you guys don't have to worry about groceries and things like that. You can just get free food at the employee cafeteria. It's free for everybody. And it's like, you could take the $12.99 Golden Corral style buffet that you give me every day and just give me $12.99 and I will go buy my own groceries instead. Like, I don't need, like, and nobody there enjoys the employee cafeteria.
Of course not, because it doesn't cost $12.99 for them. It costs them probably $2 to serve you what they're serving.
And I go, and again, I go, hey, I would, and this might just be me, but I go, I would much rather have that $2 so I can determine what I eat, as opposed to you telling me, hey, we've got chicken, we got something that approximates beef, we've got salmonella, right? And then you can have as much salmonella as you want. Just take it home with you. But we tell you what to have, and I go, like, don't do that. It's the same thing of, like, you go to, like...
You know, the more you talk, the more
he keeps giving examples.
I just don't know what the problem is.
You know, it's when they give you free gummy bears, and you're like, I don't fucking like gummy bears. I like Skittles.
But that's kind of the point, though. Like, I go, instead of giving me this thing that I don't like, right, why don't you just give me the money that this costs? Even if it's 35 cents, guess what? I would appreciate an extra 35 cents a day.
I would be insulted if someone handed me 35 cents. I'd be like, what is this about? I don't know, man.
You wouldn't appreciate, like, having an extra, like, $50 in your bank account at the end of the month, as opposed to... I feel like
the situations you're bringing up aren't, like, that much. And I understand the party thing, because it's like that's where you're supposed to boost morale. You're supposed to go hang out with the maybe security guys that work night shift that you don't normally see during day shift, or whatever that may be. You know what I mean? It's a chance to...
See, here's the thing, right? So, speaking along those lines, when somebody brought that up last year, the company's response was, oh, you guys take care of that.
Take care of what?
The employees. We'll set us... Because people were complaining of, like, hey, man, we're getting very antagonistic across the department.
Okay.
Like, people on day shift and night shift aren't getting along. You know, their response was, oh, well, you guys can go find a bar after work and take... And it's like, you asked us how to improve morale.
We're telling you, yeah.
Right, so, again, like, you throwing us, like, a free party, which is really designed to test your equipment, isn't making us happy. This is just a way for you to get something for free, as opposed to, like, actually paying a tech or somebody to sound test the room. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm just saying, like, at the end of the month, I would appreciate having $100 more in my bank account, rather than somebody going like, "Oh, look at this free
First it was
stuff
35 cents, then it was $50, now it's $100. I feel like you are just unhappy at your job, sir.
I mean, that's definitely true
too. Yeah, for the Rafiq impaired. He every time we do this segment, it had something to do with the job. Every time.
It's not every time. We talked about gay water before.
Gay water?
We did talk about gay water one time. Alex Jones hates gay water. It's 90% of the time it is about, but also Rafiq has a kind of a Christ thing where the motivation matters more to him than the outcome. And he doesn't like the cynicism of testing. I look at it and go, hey, I don't really care what your dark motivation is. Free party for me. Mm-hmm. You know, he goes, no, fuck that. I know what you're really up to. Mm-hmm. You know, he's very Sermon on the Mount. It's, you know, it's not about what you do. It's about how you feel.
But I feel like anything could be chopped up like that. We did a thing at work it's called Ship It Day. It was a 24-hour project where we stayed at work for 24 hours, and like most people would be like, ew, like I'm working for extra blah blah blah, and they kind of even it out with our other hours in the week and stuff. It's not like we were expected 40 hours plus this, but we stayed. Some of the projects we worked on were fun things. Like I did a comedy reel. Because I had the videographer guy help me. We've got designers. We've got copywriters. We have all of our resources to like help each other with these passion projects. I got a dog adopted. We like took a dog out for a day and like did it all over social media and stuff. And then the dog got adopted the next day. So some of it was like fun stuff. And then we did some stuff that was like work relevant and just, I don't know, we had fun. We were drinking, like hanging out, ordered pizza. So there were things that benefited the company in that, but we also got to do some fun stuff, and then
which I guess that's fine, but again, the whole Sermon on the Mount thing, now that you brought it up, because I go, it's cool that the company's letting you use their resources to do like the passion projects, but kind of me goes like, they're still using this to trick you into working more. You know what I mean?
Like yes and no. And that's what I'm saying is if you don't like where you're working, we all love where we work. Our bosses are cool. They're sitting there drinking alongside of us. They're also up till 3, 4 in the morning coding and doing stuff. It's a chance for us to put our passions. That's why we're in this career, this field, right, of marketing versus like, I don't know. It's different. It's different if you enjoy where you're working. Like, it sounds like you don't even want to be at a free party at yours. Like, I'm willing to work.
You want to get the fuck out as fast as possible.
Like, I'll work extra.
Please don't make me go to a party. Please.
So, and it built some kind of fun culture stuff. There was also some tension within our teams and stuff. And it's like when you got to remove the clients, remove the day-to-day BS, and we just got to hang out and do some cool stuff together.
I mean, I guess that's fair, but like, so our solution of like that antagonism between ships is like we did start going to a bar
and arm wrestling like men.
I mean, we could have. Like, there are a lot of women there that would have beat us now. So, but like we started going to a bar and like we all had like a decent like time hanging out with each other, you know, and like stuff like that. I go, that's valuable,
right?
You know, doing that for the team is a good thing, but again, when I go, I understand that you have ulterior motives for this.
For what you're doing, yeah.
Right, I go like that doesn't make me feel good. That'd be like if your girlfriend or like
you know what I
spouse or whatever
find really interesting about this, Rafiq, is that I know you pretty well, and I know for a fact that there have been several times that you have done things altruistic and said to me, "Oh, and by the way, here's what else I'm getting out of doing this."
Yeah, and guess what? Exactly, because I know how shitty that is. That is one of those things where it's like, look, man, like, I know what it's like to be like, I've done this nice thing because I expect these results.
You can't trick a trickster.
Exactly.
I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had this conversation with someone the other day about doing nice things in general. You know, I forgot the word for it, but it's like philanthropy and stuff where it's like you end up feeling better about doing the nice thing than whatever the nice thing was, you know?
And that's the thing. I go 100%. If you were just doing if they had just been like, hey guys, we made sure the pool bar was ready. Like, we already did our test run and everything like that. We just wanted to, as a thank you to all the employees, we wanted to say, hey guys, come out to this pool party, right? We got you. I would have been like, fuck yeah.
So it's all marketing. They should have marketed that shit better.
You want to do the employee concert? Hey guys, we appreciate you so much. We've already done the sound test. Like, we're not getting extra work out of you. We're not doing this to trick you into doing something we need done. We're just doing this because we want to legitimately appreciate you. I go, yeah.
And you and I had basically this same disagreement about like sponsorship and movies. Where at the end of the day, I go, it doesn't hurt my feelings if Wonder Woman's eating Pizza Hut pizza. Right. Wonder Woman was a good movie, so I don't really care if they had to side up with Pizza Hut to get it made. It got made. It was good. Right. I liked it, you know. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Like, so the conversation we've had with that, we'll go back and forth on it for hours. But for me, I go, it's a good movie. But think of how much a better movie it would have been if Wonder Woman hadn't turned to the camera and been like, I love me some Pizza Hut.
I sure can.
Wings actually like breaks the fourth wall. Like,
I sure can defeat Ares now that I've been fueled by Papa John's.
Oh, speaking of Papa John's, did you see their response? Their marketing response to Papa John is they hired Shaq, the biggest, blackest dude, to be their new corporate spokesperson.
Great.
He's the corporate spokesperson of everything.
Yeah.
The general insurance and.
Yeah, more people probably know him today as the dude from commercials than they know
the jock itch
guy.
Catch-22, because again, when we're talking about the business side of things, it's like when I've had to work with sponsors and do things, it's like to make certain things happen, to make good happen in the world, like put on a show or produce a movie or whatever. It's like, yeah, you've got to work with people and like.
But there's a way to work with people that's not so like heavy-handed, like
and like losing artistic like integrity and stuff. You're saying like
yeah, there's one thing to have like, okay, we were sponsored by Pizza Hut, we're going to put them in the credits or whatever, or like, we were sponsored by Pizza Hut, and here's like a Pizza Hut sign in the background of this shot, you know, we were sponsored by Lexus, so we used a Lexus car to drive up on the scene. Fine. But it's so many movies and so many companies as a whole.
It gets cheesy with the
They go like, oh man, we were saved thanks to Lexus brand Lexus airbags.
I noticed. I started watching Queer Eye, the remake on Netflix. It just makes me happy when people get makeovers and they have a good time, you know. And all those boys, I just love their personalities so much. But they always do this montage when they're like getting ready to like fix the guy up, and like Bobby, the designer, he always walks in. He's like do, and he's carrying a Wayfair box, and I'm like, after I noticed it, I'm like, Wayfair's a sponsor. It's just so obvious, and they're always doing something on Samsung phones, and it's just the way they do. And it's like, can it be any cheesier of a montage? You're literally doing nothing. You're just walking around with an empty box,
right?
And Wayfair.
And my argument has always been, you know what would be better? Is if he didn't go like, oh man, we were able to cobble together this outfit thanks to Wayfair.
Yeah.
Wink. If he had just been like, we were able to cobble this outfit together using these pieces and listed all of them, and you had a good time, and you weren't thinking about fucking Wayfair. And then at the end of the episode, they're like, by the way, Wayfair sponsored all of this. Right. Thanks, guys. Right. And then we just fucking left it. Like,
there was an Oscar about 2012, 13. There was an Oscar-nominated movie where Guinness beer saved the day.
Right? Like
it was. I can't remember the name of the movie. It was like this old woman was trying to find her lost child, and it had something to do with like being raised in this abusive nunnery, and like they had stolen the kid. It was, you know, this horrible situation, and so he's on the road with her trying to help her, and he's drinking. It was either Guinness or Harp, and it's got that little harp on it, and he looks at the logo, and then he looks at the picture of the guy, and he's got like a little harp on his neck. And he goes, oh, it must be from Ireland. Like, somehow that connection.
Like,
and it was like, oh, Guinness saved the day. Cool.
Speaking of Guinness, I was wearing... You were at the shoot at Cafe Hay the other day. Yeah, and I was like wearing a Guinness hoodie, and we were having a reverse intervention where the premise was like, Shannon, we're really actually going to need you to keep drinking because you're way nicer when you do X, Y, Z. And like, we're going in the circle, and I was wearing a Guinness
hoodie. Like, you're kind of a downer when you're sober.
Yeah, like, we're going to need you to just... Are those kids dying or?
I mean, it's like.
How many kids do you have in your life right now? None. I mean, you have
actively,
nieces, nephews, and.
Not
like actively. I mean, I've got a ton of kids I see like on the holidays, but
I don't know why. But the idea of like inactive children, where like just children like as sleeper cells,
and then they like.
I just asked because I've got 3 in my life now. That's playing.
Your own
Not
children?
mine.
Okay. So there's a couple that like come to work with their parents all the time, and it's like also kind of annoying because it's just I'm at work, dude. You know, it's already we've got like we're dog friendly office, kid friendly office. And it's like as a person who's almost 30 that doesn't have kids, you know, it's like I was in Five Below the other day about having an anxiety attack, and like that's a very like young, like the music's already annoying, everything in there is annoying. Like I was just already overstimulated.
It's like if Sephora like owned a Dollar General.
It was that's actually a beautiful comparison. I'm just looking at these little snot-nosed brats just ramming like shopping carts into their moms. The moms looked defeated. Like, it was just one of those moments where I was either going to throw up or cry, and I never wanted to have children ever. And I was just waiting for some goofy teenager to get the basket off the top shelf that I needed again. Like, do I really need the basket? Do I really need any of this stuff? Why am I here? Like,
it's always a weird moment where you see somebody else having a shitty life, and that makes you depressed by it. You're like,
and they're not my kids.
No.
I can't beat them. So, like, when they're ramming their cart into their mom, I'm like, I can't yell at you. Like, your mom's got to do that.
Here's the part you may not know that I have learned is that at that point in the day, mom doesn't even know it's being rammed.
No, she's
already, what you said, overstimulated. She's already been so taxed by the day.
I believe it.
Up to that point that she's
I believe it. And sorry,
So I think I told you this. You're probably gonna think less of me for it, but let's do it anyway.
Oh, we're already there.
Thank you. I would like to.
I'm just not inviting you to my pool party. You can't come to my pool party or my concert because you're just gonna bitch about it.
Oh shit!
I've developed this thing where, like, if I hear a kid screaming for a thing in, like, a store or whatever,
being a brat, yeah.
I remember this might just be my mom being a champion or whatever, but I remember when I was a kid and I would act up and be like, I want to whatever. My mom, without saying a word, would just pick me up and take me outside and
beat your ass.
Nope, no hitting. I would have to stand there outside so we weren't bothering the people inside.
Was she with you or did she go back inside?
She was with me.
Wow.
And I would scream and yell. And the thing for me, and I don't know if this just explains so much of me as an adult, is as a kid, I kind of internalized that thing because after like 3 minutes of screaming and nothing happening, of just like silent, like,
right.
You
didn't get what you wanted out of it.
You just start going like, oh no, like adults are looking at me. This is not okay.
Yeah.
Like, and there was never a moment of like my mom, like the worst my mom would say is she'd say "laisse tomber," which means don't touch.
Don't touch you?
Nope, don't touch whatever the thing was. It's like,
like
if I want candy or whatever, and I'm screaming about it in the store, and after she takes me outside. And we go back inside, and I go like, maybe I can sneak this into the cart or whatever. It'd just be like, laisse tomber. And that was enough where, like, it was just like, oh, no, I'll have to go back out. It's like being put in timeout.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not the fact of, like, oh, you didn't give me the thing I want. You're like, oh, no, this sucks.
Like, I'm not going to get it either way, and I'm just making an ass of myself.
Right? Like, now I'm just staring at a wall. This is terrible.
Well, also, I think, with my now 2 years limited experience of being in a faux dad role, I think there's also a kind of a message there that your mom was kind of on your side. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, that's not antagonism with the kid. Stop or I'll beat you. It's, it's like, hey, I'm not going to tell you to stop.
Yeah.
We're just going to stand here. We're going to,
Well, it was. She would always tell me inside, like, you need to stop.
Well, I understand.
But it was that thing of, like, if you don't stop, we're going outside,
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the thing as an adult now, where if, like, and I try not to be this guy, but when I see parents just let their kids run all over them, there's part of me that wants to come up and just kind of hype the kid up more.
Oh, wow. That's
to just be like...
What can she really do to you?
Right.
Think about it, man.
Right.
She won't beat you in the store. No? So...
Because I guess that's what I'm hoping for, is just that moment where the parent snaps and be like, oh, yeah, I should have been hitting you. Like,
my mom just had to give me a look. Like, she's 5'1", little petite thing, but she was a cop for my entire life.
Wow.
And so I respected her. She was mommy and dad. My dad died when I was young, and just, like, I didn't want to disappoint her or upset her. Like, the fact that, you scream and yell, hell no. It never got to that point for me because I knew better.
Yeah.
And, like... And I was also raised by a village, and I knew to respect adults, and I was the one that was always asking, can I help clean up the dishes, or, sure, I'd love seconds of my vegetables, or whatever, I just was always the good kid, and, like, so it's hard for me, like, now as an adult, and of course the times have changed, but it's like, when I was young, it's like, you listen to your babysitter, your elders, your teacher, it's like...
I mean, my mom was the same way, too, because, like, but there was also that kind of, I guess it's because she had so much training, like, to be an ambassador's wife, there was kind of this understanding of like, these are the rules for children. Like, children respect their elders. You say, yes, ma'am, no, sir. Ma'am, may I help you? Ma'am, may I assist you? Yes, may I please have some more? And then it's like that rare moment where you do act out. It was like, okay, we're not going to beat you because we don't do that.
Yeah.
Those aren't the rules for handling children. But we are going to internalize all that shame.
Yeah. You also were towards the youngest of your siblings,
Yeah,
right?
I'm the youngest out of 8.
So that's the thing is I was always treated like an adult. Like I had a little brother who would sometimes throw fits and stuff, but I was the one that had to go handle him or, fix him because mom wasn't dealing with it. I had to go get him. It's like, right. And so, yeah, I'm just thinking about the difference. The other day I was in Walmart and this girl, probably 7 or 8, was like trying to grab a bunch of chips and like dropped one of the bags of chips. And she like kind of looks back, like debating whether she was going to pick it up or not. And it looked like she was in a hurry, or mom probably told her to pick out whatever. And I said, girl. And she like looks back at me and I was like, you're going to leave that there? Like kind of joking with her.
Yeah.
And like, it didn't even occur to me like maybe that's overstepping or with
right,
the mom.
Right.
And I said, don't worry, I got, I helped her pick it up and I put it back. And like my friend was with me and was mortified. Like you said, it's like, you say anything, I'm going to crawl on the table. So it's like, I don't know. I'm like, was I out of place? Like, I thought I did it friendly and more, but to me, it's just like a village. It takes a village, Like,
right.
If we just.
Well, I like whenever I hang out with my friend. This is long ago, but whenever I used to hang out with my friend Imre and his brother, there was always that thing of like, we'd be hanging out, and his brother was much younger than us, and it was always that thing of like, hey man, don't be loud in the restaurant because that looks really bad on your parents.
Mm-hmm.
I'm your brother's friend. Like, I'm not correcting your behavior. I'm just telling you what this looks like, dude.
I think today, kids these days. I think, Rafiq, you're not gonna do one.
No, please,
I thought we were each taking turns.
We can.
Our new show. Kids these days.
I think a lot of the. I feel like there's a lot of philosophies that are good on paper, but you kind of have to take into account that there are legitimate lobes that don't grow until you're 14.
Yeah.
And then there are other legitimate lobes that don't finish growing until you're about 25. And sometimes it's not about, I want to teach them to be free. Sometimes it's about just going, you are not going to do that again.
Right.
Like, I remember one time, because my fiance, who is the best person ever, she can be a little loosey-goosey with them. And one thing that I've hopefully helped in is that she would never reset the room. Meaning, like, she's trying to, a kid grabs one of the pieces of fruit while she's doing the thing. And she just goes, don't grab the fruit. I'm trying to do the thing. And another kid grabs the fruit. And it's by the time another kid grabs the fruit, then she explodes on all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I told her was like, well, when I was a teacher and that would happen, because I had 20 kids, sit down, raise your hand, sit. And then by the 3rd one, I would just stand up and go, all right, guys, the next person that walks up to my desk is getting detention. You guys know how this works. And then I sit back and nobody would do it again. And it was just that. So one day, 2 of her girls are at my place. They've been bickering at each other all weekend. And it's like breakfast and they're still going at it. And at one point I just sat down and I looked at them. And we're talking like 5 and 4. And I just go, all right, girls, you're just not going to bicker at each other anymore. And you're not going to whine anymore. And we're just not going to do it. Okay.
I love that. What's funny though,
and it fucking worked.
It absolutely.
They both went okay.
I actually had a heart-to-heart with a close friend last night, and it's like it's not even chill. It's like adults. Like we need to hear that stuff too. And he was just in such a funk, super just depressed, and like in this space. And there's a story about my friend Kelly. she lost rent money. Something happened. She was just distraught, just like losing her shit, anxiety, crying, and this is when we were in college. I was like, so you're gonna sit there and cry about it all day, or
right.
you gonna let me loan you the money and you'll just pay me back and you'll pay your fucking rent and we'll get over it. And so that's been like kind of the thing that we've built on our relationship. Anytime I'm going through something, she goes, you gonna sit there and cry about it all day, or are we gonna keep it moving? You know, like that's what we do. So when he was in the state last night, I was like, all right, so you're depressed, thinking about killing yourself, you know, whatever. It's like, that's not an option. We're not doing that. We're not killing ourselves. So it's cute to think about. We're not going to live there. You know, I had to be.
But it's such a fun
I had to be the logic, because when your emotion takes over, you know, it's like, you're just reacting off of something, and you kind of need that extra force to just come in and be like you said, reset the room. Like, well, we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
So.
That's part of the reason why our friendship has always worked so well, is because as neurotic as fucking I am, but as classic as he is, it's always been nice to be like, oh, I'm going through this thing. It's like, well, we're not. We're not anymore. That's the end of this thing that you're doing.
Story, but yeah.
Now let's go back to talking about dicks. Like that.
What are we here for? If not to talk dicks.
No, acknowledge it, but not like, again, live in that space or whatever. And how many times have you heard me go in the back of a room and yell at a bunch of comics and I'm like, you better shut up? And like I think it was this Sophia. It was one of the girls. I'm trying to remember who it was. And they're like, but I wasn't even talking. They sounded like little kids. And I said, I'm like the mom with the minivan. I don't care who the hell's talking. You're being too loud in the back. Like.
So one of the classes I loved when I was getting my degree was child psychology, and one of the things they talk about is like the three most typical styles of parenting are permissive, expletive, and explanative.
Okay.
Because the idea of like, there are some parents that just let whatever happen.
Right.
It's like, hey man, he's my cool little dude.
Yeah.
We're best friends.
Like, yeah. And it's like, no, you're the adult.
Right.
Some of that's cultural too.
But then there are also parents that are like, what'd I fucking say? Don't make me hit you.
Right.
And it's like, that's not good parenting either.
Right.
The explanative version of parenting is, don't do that thing because blank, blank, and blank.
I had this. I should not talk about the context. I had a conversation regarding authority the other day, and I was talking, and it was not in a whatever. I had a conversation regarding authority.
He was fucking something.
No. And it was a kind of a fundamental way that I look at the world, and this person tends not to look at the world the same way.
This really sounds like it's a BDSM. like I was gonna be like, and so I told her to put on the harness, and she just wasn't listening.
I feel like you're the only one that thinks it sounds like that.
Really? Like,
anyway,
he's not confirming or denying.
Notice that? Anyway, one of the things I said, and this is a disagreement this person and I have had before, where I just think there are times when your boss has to be your boss. Mm-hmm. There are times when you have to tell somebody, don't do that anymore, or you are fired. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to I never want my sergeant to go, all right, guys, let's huddle up. How do you guys feel about shooting at the bad guy today?
Right.
You know, I want my sergeant to be Captain America. Right. You go over there. You take out the sniper. You know, and at some point, you got to tell your kid, go to bed. Mm-hmm. It's time to go to bed. I don't care anymore about why you don't want to. Mm-hmm. Do it.
Oh, but I want a glass of water. Well, you're not getting a glass of water.
You're not getting it. Go to bed, you know.
And I think that is such a tip of the iceberg on all of your other relationships, or the things that you've built, not your other relationships, the other elements of that relationship, right? So if your kid respects you, you know, it's like all you got to do is give him a look in the grocery, given there's not cognitive impurities or, you know, something more than like, you know, I think that if there's a respect for your parent or an appreciation or just, you know, like, I don't want my mom to be upset. Like, okay, you know.
Well, again, it's that, for me, it was that whole, like, you kind of internalize it. You're like, I've been making a fuss, and now I'm just embarrassing myself and my mom, and I love my mom. Feel bad. Right. Don't want to be this kid.
Well, also, I think you're also, it's, as a teacher, the one thing, no matter how much a principal hated me, the one thing I always got a pat on the back for was my discipline in my classroom. Always, every year. You know, even
Also
early on.
BDSM related.
Yeah.
Does that make you think of BDSM?
I mean, you
Rafiq?
brought it up, so.
But it's the thing of like the teacher who yells all the time. The kids don't hear it anymore.
Yeah, you do. You just drown it out.
So early on, I was the teacher who yelled all the time, and the kids never heard it. And eventually you learn how to I started to learn how to. If I got quieter.
I love that tactic.
I told you to sit down. Oh fuck.
My favorite's in a loud room's to whisper. I do that in the mics when people are being too loud in the back, and it's like somehow I don't know what it is. You can hear the whisper above the yelling. It's like a different.
Well, it's because you focus your attention in because this is something that's out of place. You go, everyone's talking loudly, and then there's this weirdo over here who's whispering to us. Let's
also
turn our focus
great manipulation technique that I've been learning, but it's usually me crouching down next to someone and my hands either on their leg or their arm, just like I'm friendly, I'm here, especially if we're having a disagreement. I've lowered myself now, so they have to look down at me, but I've got the upper hand this whole fucking time because I'm the one approaching them, but I don't want to come at them or lean over their desk or whatever. It's like, hey, and it's a whisper, it's a very just like, I've done this, my friend was playing a music show, and this guy was being loud and crazy in the back, and the first instinct is to turn around and, shut up, dickhead, but again, you're just going to incite more of that behavior.
Right.
I went over and actually explained, I said, guy's up there singing a song about his mom who died of cancer, this is kind of hard for him, can you be a little respect? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, was I really that loud? It registered differently than the people who were,
That's one of the things you learn when you do security is, so much of it is, this is not a conversation.
Right.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm not reaching whatever emotional level you're at.
Right.
You're crying, you're screaming, you've wet yourself. I am just talking to you as an adult and telling you can't do that in our space.
Right.
So you need to leave.
Yes, I love that.
My favorite is there's, especially from guys, is there's always somebody who, you get soft like that, and they go oh, you think you're real tough. You think you're such a, and it's just I'm not.
The way you've got your hands in your pockets.
Right.
What do you think? You're some
You're
kind
gonna
of
fight me? Oh, you're gonna come at me like that? And you're I had to call the cops on a friend recently. At first I thought it was her and her boyfriend got in a fight. I thought it was on the boyfriend. It was her, and I just saw this completely different side of this person, yada yada. I'm not getting any details on who it was, but so I
always laugh when I hear about men being abused. I don't know why. It's horrible. I was emotionally abused in a relationship for a good 8 years. But when I hear his girlfriend used to pistol whip him, I just hit the floor. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
This was some of the wildest shit I've ever seen, but it was funny, a million cops showed up to the scene, and there was one who was yelling back at her, who's yelling, and it's and then there's the ones like you said outside with their hands in their pockets, and they were smashing and just stuff getting broken in the house. It was a crazy thing, and he's just well, it's her house, she can kind of break it, it's then when that line got crossed, then they had to step in and do something, it's and so it's just funny. It's how people approach things, and I remember hearing the cop yelling at her, and I'm you're just because, we said, back to the kid throwing a tantrum in the store, if it's a grown adult or whatever, it's you're just going to piss the kid off more by, antagonizing it, It's why,
Well, it's what you were saying. It's that whole thing of sometimes you've just checked out of the situation.
Yeah.
You're just I'm done with this right now. It doesn't matter what you do. Just do a thing, whatever.
Well, sometimes you also have to, now that I'm around these girls all the time, there have been times where there's nothing overtly that I need to be wagging my finger about. I just got to get the fuck out of the room. I'm just going to go stand outside.
And that's your own personal space. You just need to create space for yourself. Yeah.
That 4-year-old is hitting decibels. There are things melting in my brain. I'm just need to go stand outside for a minute.
That was me at 5 Below. And then the same thing with that situation. I tried to pivot. I tried to talk sense into people. It just wasn't happening. So that's when I went and called, and I'm this is beyond my control at this point. It's I did what I could do, and it's I don't know, and I felt guilty about it, but I'm like, sometimes we have our own space, our own boundaries of what we can handle or what we can do, and
well, I mean, kind of like you were saying before, though, sometimes with people, it's just that whole thing of, like, we don't do that to adults enough, where we go, like, I need to explain to you how things work. Like,
I had that moment last night, actually, at the show with management, and it's funny to circle this back around to booking and stuff, but I'm kind of in that space with that where I literally said to one of them, I said, I feel like this venue and this situation has been like getting punched in the face by an abusive boyfriend every day, and then the next day you're telling me you love me and we'll work it out, and it's like, when is it on you to separate yourself, to call the cops, to go outside, to do whatever it is that you need to do to like stop from losing your shit, like, so.
I mean, I don't know. For me, I guess it's weird for me because like my profession has been, for not just the mercenary stuff, but my profession as a whole has just been explaining to adults like what is acceptable behavior in one respect or another, to be
you're
like,
in society, welcome to civilization, this is how we do things,
right? Like I remember this was like,
I know you were just recently thawed out.
Right.
So let me just help
from
you.
the cave.
I remember there was one time when I was working for TSA where I had to explain to a grown man, it was like, you can't pee in a water fountain. Like, you can't. I mean, you physically can because you did, but you can't,
because I saw it. I saw you do that. Yeah.
Right. But like, you can't pee in a water fountain because other people drink out of there. Like,
and germs
right?
are fun. Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna call the police, and they are gonna take you to jail.
I love the sing song. And this is how we do it. And then what's hard is, you sprinkle in what is within my realm of do I correct the girl in the store? Is this person mentally, whatever, are they in a psychotic rage? And anything that I say, it's just, there's so many factors of like, and then of course you're trying to handle your own emotions, like you were saying, in the situation of like, how do I stay calm and like,
well, like I was saying before, I'm fighting against it, but there's been a real portion of me lately that sees the kid going like, I want ice cream. Like, to just swing by and be like, yeah, why can't we have ice cream?
What if you mock the kid? Just lay on the floor next to him, like kick your feet,
right.
and you're like, I want ice cream. Like, what's up with
help.
This guy? Yeah.
Trust me,
you
I know
tried
from
mocking
experience.
your shoulder? I feel like
no, I mean like acting like legitimately like I'm on the kid's side and turn it on the parents, be like,
yeah, you bitch, mommy, buy some ice cream.
Right, just to be like, and then leave and never look back.
This is like the premise of a movie where like you have a silly makeup on your face and like you come out of the shelves like
but
the
only
shelf.
The kid can see you. The mom
Yeah,
can't.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
the shelf is really thin, but somehow the half of a body of a grown man is coming out just one side of it. Hey, you should get some ice cream.
The angel devil situation, but just devil, just Rafiq, and just coming out the candy aisle. Like, ooh, the candy man. This could be a creepy little.
It's a real horror film.
Oh wow!
But it's like a horror film for the parents, like not.
Yeah, the parents.
Like the kids are fine the whole time, but it's just always like, yeah. Aren't you glad you didn't get that abortion after all?
This is gonna be your longest podcast ever.
Oh no, we did one with Bailey, or we did one with Bruce where we had to cut into 3 episodes, and we did one with Bailey that we cut into 2.
Might cut that one into 2. Well, yeah, we're at an hour and a half. It's probably time to
do
Let's bitch about kids.
Let's bitch about kids.
Kids, adults, shows, venues, everything.
So wait, are you telling me that when comedians get together, they find things to bitch about?
I know,
weird.
I didn't.
Weird.
It's almost like the central premise of this show is just that comedians can talk about whatever for however long.
So how about this?
How about this? Well, that was a great way to end it.
Right.
Well done, Shannon.
Thank you.
I am Alan Dempsey.
And I am Rafiq Shaheen. You can check us out at.
Not yet.
He jumped the gun.
Yeah.
That was all him.
You can check us out on Podbean and soon to be Google and iTunes.
Maybe
if somebody can get around to it.
Had shit on my brain.
With us is Shannon.
That's me. That's me.
Like to plug.
You just follow me on the socials. Shannon Kelly Comedy on Instagram. Shannon Kelly Ha on Twitter. And just Shannon Kelly on Facebook. Follow those things.
All right.
I do shows.
I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Did we touch on that?
we talked
I yell
about
at kids in Walmart.
We talked. Yeah.
That's about it. That's all I do.
What do we learn about Shannon? Like, she had not really great at Five Below. They've gotten a dog adopted. That was a
Yeah.
really sweet thing.
Yeah.
Yells at kids.
I like it all.
Thank you guys. That was
Thank you very much for being here.
So how about this?
Kids these days.